días, superhumanos de Intercorp. Siento orgulloso de volver aquí. But I'm going to tell you what the mood is going to be at 5:30 this afternoon. Can we have audio? You hear the cheering? This is another company off-site, but this one is SpaceX. And they have just shown the rocket that can be used again. But the emotion is not just employees. It's people who feel they're working on a mission. Their mission is to take the human race multi-planetary. But you are on a mission, no less ambitious. I got to know Intercorp 5 years ago when I was researching a book on can successful organizations really innovate? And I got to hear of this amazing team based in Lima that were building a school system, that were building a technical university, that were reinventing a healthcare system. And it made me realize true innovation can be part of a business, but it has to have a purpose with humans at the center of that purpose. I traveled to about 20 countries researching the book. This was my favorite case study. It became chapter 1. But I also found a bank in Finland that was being disrupted by tech. It wasn't making money in the same way, lending to buy a car, foreign currency transactions. So it thought, we have to innovate, but we have to start with our purpose. Why are we here? 100-year-old bank. We're here to help people through difficult transitions in their life. So let's build a hospital system. This Finnish bank, Oppa, built 5 hospitals that were super efficient. They could see you the same afternoon. They could give you surgery the next day. But what we have to reckon with now is technology moving so fast. It can sometimes get in the way of our mission. It changes the rules every day. I'm from a creative background. I learned how to put words in an order and write things. The AI can do that better. The AI we thought wasn't going to be as good as humans at creating. I'm afraid that ship has sailed. The AI can now write music as effectively as any human. This is an AI company called Suno that last week raised $125 million to create AI-generated music. So we're in a world now where the video can be AI-generated and the music. A few months ago, OpenAI released something called Sora, which gives you a little box where you type in text and you can ask it to create videos. I want a dog on a beach in Hawaii taking selfies. It's pretty effective. What does this mean if you're a filmmaker? If you make TV commercials? If you make music videos? The rules are moving, they're changing. Humans can't ignore this tech. What you thought was the norm is suddenly old news. One of the things you can do with Sora is feed it 2 different videos, and in real time on the right, it creates a new video with the best parts of each. Now, I'm going to tell you something I don't want the translators to hear, because this is going to upset them. But the AI has also solved translation. You don't just have to market to the Spanish-speaking world or the English-speaking world. You can market to Romania, to Myanmar. Mark Zuckerberg does not speak Hindi. This is a podcaster, Lex Friedman, interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, and an AI is translating in real time with lip movements, so they seem to be speaking Hindi.
टेक्स्ट आधारित सोशल नेटवर्क पर क्या सुधार कर सकते हैं?
बाहरी दृष्टिकोण से विशेष आलोचनाओं को प्रदान करना हमेशा काफी कठिन होता है, क्योंकि मेरे अनुभव के अनुसार हर
And this
कोई
is
आपको सलाह
all happening because of that curve on the graph. That man runs a company called NVIDIA that makes computer chips which empower artificial intelligence. And this graph, just look at the shape of it, it's showing that in the last 8 years, the computational power of artificial intelligence has gone up 1,000 times. Now, I don't want you to remember all the numbers, but I want you to think about the shape of that graph. It's an exponential graph, doubling and doubling. And that tells you where the future's going. Because even if you're not ready for that big inflection point, that's going to define markets. That's going to define our social behavior. This is a photograph from 1956. It's 5 megs of IBM computer storage being uploaded to the cloud, which is now 1 photo on your iPhone. So what was super expensive, super scarce, is now a commodity because of Moore's law, because of the doubling and doubling, because of the exponential growth that technology enables. And it's not just computer processing and computer storage that are on this journey. It's all sorts of other technologies. But the most important exponential curve, probably of our lifetime, is the growth curve of computers able to process what seems like intelligence. So this is a logarithmic scale, and this is where we are just over the last decade or so in computational power. And this building is not big enough to show where we are without using a logarithmic scale. But we're able to do crazy numbers of calculations at increasingly low costs. So every time you see one of those curves, you know the world is about to change. This is since those reusable space rockets that Elon and his team created, the number of space launches around the world. So what's happened is no longer do you need to be a government with billions of dollars to launch a rocket. Now, anybody with a few $1,000s can have access to perform a science experiment in zero gravity. Or if you want to create a new kind of broadband company, you don't need to dig the roads to put cables there. For not very much money, you can launch your own satellites. It's hugely disruptive. And it won't go away, even if it's uncomfortable for the way you're doing business today. Because the doubling and doubling means that what was expensive and scarce becomes free, a commodity over time. One of the most startling exponential curves has been, now that we're all connected online, the speed of adoption of new technologies getting faster and faster. This is the number of days that a new technology took to get to 1 million users. Facebook, nearly a year. Twitter, 2 years. ChatGPT, 5 days. It means I couldn't write this presentation last week because the news would have been irrelevant. Things are moving so quickly. And this is an exponential set of curves about where the AI has become superhuman. So the black line shows as good as a human at performing a task. This is, over the last 25 years, the AI's ability to do things that humans thought only they could do. This blue line is understanding handwriting. It took a while, but about 2014, the machine could do it as well as a human. But look at this side. Almost a straight vertical line. The yellow, doing maths like a school student. The green, doing common sense answers to questions. The orange, writing computer code. Very, very quickly, it's got much better than the human. And that's kind of scary, because that means a lot of the way we make a living, we express our work identity, the machine is better, cheaper, more reliable than the human. If you are an accountant, the machine can do it. If you are a lawyer, a lot of what you're doing is reading through documents. The machine can do it. If you work in medicine, reading radiography scans, the machine is more accurate. It forces us to change how we think about our identity, about our work. But it doesn't make the human any less important if the human starts to understand that these tools are there to enhance us, to give us superhuman powers. The lawyer may have to focus more on giving particular advice and communicating the options based on an intuitive understanding of that client's needs. The radiographer in the hospital won't simply replicate the scan. They'll advise on the right course of treatment for this person, and they'll be empathetic. But it forces us all to stop being fixed in our mindsets. I'm constantly having to unlearn what I think I understand about AI. I'm thinking creative people are going to reject this. If the AI can generate photographs, an opera, a story, Well, that's a threat. On Monday this week, I had to unlearn that. So I have a friend who's a film director. His name is Shekhar Kapoor. He's a very visually, creatively gifted film director. He won an Oscar for this movie.
This man is a pirate.
Spain is no friend of England. The more gold I take, Majesty, the safer you will be.
So the movie is called Elizabeth, about Britain's first Queen Elizabeth. And it's thousands of extras, huge ambitious film sets. And I said to him,
There is a wind coming.
what do you think about AI? And he said, I'm fantastically excited. It's going to give me a new set of tools. It's no different from the camera. It's a technology, but it's how we use the tools that allows us to be creative. He said, when I'm looking for the film directors of tomorrow, I'm looking for people with the skill in asking a prompt in the text box. A prompt engineer, he said, is going to be super important when you're making a movie. I thought therapists were always going to be human because the machine can't hear you, can't listen, can't advise like a human. And then I had to unlearn that. There's a research paper published not very long ago about this AI therapist, an AI app that is there for young people who are having negative thoughts to talk to. This is the research paper. They looked at 1,000 people who used the app. 30 of them said it had saved their lives. Talking to an AI had made them not take a permanently damaging decision. Now, if an AI can prevent suicide, what does it mean for the humans? You can't just say, we don't need the AI, we're the special ones. I think to be a superhuman, you have to understand what the AI can do and work with it. And it's happening right now. And it's entrepreneurs using creative thinking, inventing problems that can be solved with AI through apps. So probably the most effective venture builder in the world that backs early companies that go on to be transformative is Y Combinator, based in San Francisco. And it was early to back Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe. So it's always useful seeing what companies are pitching at their demo day to understand what the next big companies in a few years could be. And they had a demo day just a couple of weeks ago, and it was remarkable that about 70% of the startups pitching were pitching varieties of AI in applications that had commercial use. One of the companies pitching even had the AI do the pitching on behalf of the founder.
My name is Lena, and I'm the CEO of Infinity AI. Actually, no, I'm not Lena. I'm an AI clone of Lena, and you are watching the first ever AI-generated demo day presentation.
So it's not perfect,
Infinity is a
but
script
we're
to
early
begin
in
the
that journey, and this is
foundation
just a
code.
startup.
Give Infinity
It's
a
raised
script
hardly
for
any
this
money.
entire movie.
There was another
Since we
company
launched 2 weeks
pitching
ago, our users have made
that could
1,000
generate
videos that have gotten
a
more than
personalized video
100,000 views on
from
social media.
the boss, from
Our
CRP,
users have created
to everybody here at Fest. You just type in a text prompt, type in the names of everybody. The company's called Tavis.
Hey everyone, I'm Ari, engineering manager at Tavis. I have to admit, I was too busy to record this video, so instead, I generated it with my digital replica using a script I wrote. Today,
So,
I'm excited to announce the launch
imagine
of our breakthrough
being able
AI
to
video
have
model, Phoenix.
106,000
We're making it available
conversations,
to developers.
each of which
Imagine your
are
users can make
personal.
their very own video like this.
And imagine
First,
being able
by
to do
getting a
this to
realistic
your
replica of
customers.
themselves and
This is
then
a
generating
startup.
video in
There's a startup that was pitching at Y Combinator that does local weather using AI, street corner by street corner, that's more accurate than existing weather forecasts. There was a company pitching that will design your product for you or your house, and it takes care of all the boring stuff in the background. There was a company that allows you to search a big database of video. Let's say you have security video, you can type in what you want to see in thousands of hours of footage. There was a company pitching that allows you to put thinking power in an inanimate object, like a drone. Suddenly, you can give any object cognition. And these are just startups at the beginning of their journey. So what I'm learning, and I talk to a lot of founders, investors, university research labs, is it's only going to continue getting faster. The world will never move this slowly again. But it's not just AI. There's a convergence of lots of fast-moving technologies happening at the same time. And what's happened with AI in the last couple of years is starting to happen with robotics. The number of robots being used in all sorts of industrial use cases, this is Amazon, is growing at that doubling and doubling curve. And the robots, like the AI, are learning by how they interact with the external reality, and they're getting better and better. This is one of Google's robot projects, where it's learning as it goes. The prompt was, bring me the rice chips in the drawer. It didn't know what rice chips looked like. It didn't know where the drawer was. But it learns by its mistakes. This is one of Tesla's robots, solving one of the world's great problems, folding up your shirt or your dress so it doesn't lie on the chair in your bedroom. But this was just a demonstration because they're using two-legged robots on the production line. And you just know that 5, maybe 10 years later, the price of these two-legged robots will be low enough and the performance strong enough that we'll be using them ourselves at home to carry our shopping, to do repairs around the house. It's hitting industry in really interesting ways. So there's not enough humans to build houses. There's a robot company in the Netherlands that's laying bricks automatically. This is how your hotel room is probably going to be cleaned in the future. This is in agriculture. A company called Tevel, computer vision sees which apple is ripe, and the drone will then pick that apple. So you've got AI plus robotics interacting. And then what about this thing we used to call the metaverse, or AR, or VR? And then Apple starts putting out $3,500 devices. Well, it hasn't changed the world, the Apple Vision Pro, but we're on that journey of being able to visualize each other in a virtual space in a way that could soon be human-like. And you can see use cases in education. I can go and explore the Large Hadron Collider. Or in industry, I can work out how to repair this heating system. But at some stage, it may be good enough for us to have quite a meaningful meeting that's more intense than Zoom, because you can explore things in space, in a physical space. There's already experiments. There's a London company called Improbable that's found a way to have 100,000 people in the same simulated world. Each of them has their own identity in that world. They're partnering with American Major League Baseball, so you can have a match in real time, and then there's the virtual match, which people who can't get to the ground can be part of. And then you start to think, maybe there'll be transactions in the virtual game. Maybe they'll buy digital goods. Maybe they'll pay to be nearer the players. There's a whole new potential for the economy. So we've got AI, robotics, metaverses, or whatever we call them. But now we've also got the ability to read people's thoughts. And it's starting with a really important use case. People who can't speak, people who can't move their arms. What if you could read the electrical signals in their brain and translate that to activity?
It was like using the force on a cursor.
This man has a chip. He can't move. He's paralyzed, but he can now think and do art. And I'm not saying all of us are going to have chips, but remember those curves? The ability to recognize electrical signals is going to get better. We won't have invasive technologies. Already games companies are starting to work out how to not have your hands involved when you're making a decision. Already Mark Zuckerberg is trying to read your thoughts. It's kind of moving fast. So let me give you a quick history lesson. Ancient history, 3 years ago. A company that was then a non-profit called OpenAI released something called DALL-E. And it started this idea of the text box that you type in something and it creates a visual. And it didn't change the world. A year later, we had the first of the video text prompts. This is a company called Runway. It could start to know predictability is the basis of these AI companies, what you're likely to want when you type in a text prompt. Fast forward to earlier this year, a guy in California who works in the motion picture industry saw that the price of these tools was coming right down, and he thought, I want to see if I can make a Pixar quality movie trailer using the tools that are available for you and me, but I don't want to spend more than $200. This is the trailer he created.
From Neo Cinema, the studio you've never heard of, who are behind Synthetica and the Fifth Kind, brings you the first ever scripted AI animation with real-life actors.
All done with AI, no actors, no animators. And then a few weeks later, he saw that the translation software was getting better. He thought, let's see if I can make it work in Spanish.
Give me a sec. Un segundo, amigo.
Estoy elevando tu caso ahora, señor. ¡Papá! Espera un momento para un poco de música de ascensor y una posible experience.
So let's kind of catch up where we are today, with all these layered technologies coming together. Everything can have thinking powers. We have autonomous transport system-wide. We have the ability to feel you're in an immersive space. We have brain-computer interfaces. We have a new economy in space. We have quantum computing coming. We have decentralized networks creating new opportunities. We have the ability to personalize things for one person. It's enough to make it really hard to write science fiction because all the big storylines have been captured by reality. You may remember 10 years ago there was a movie called Her, about a man, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who's divorced. He falls in love with his AI, played by Scarlett Johansson's voice.
I feel really close to her. Like when I talk to her, I feel like she's with me.
I want to learn everything about everything. I want to discover myself.
Unfortunately, she had 8,000 other boyfriends in the AI, so it didn't end happily. But that was only a decade ago. That's now reality. There are now services that lots of people are subscribing to that provide virtual girlfriends, virtual boyfriends. How do you keep up? How do you not get disrupted? What if you're a company that makes billions in advertising because people come to your search engine, they come to a web page? What happens when you don't actually go to a destination, you just talk or maybe think? What if you're Google? Google had their developer conference a few days ago. I'm not going to play the long keynotes. I'm just going to condense some of the keynotes into a few seconds. But I want you to see if you can spot the very subtle messaging they're trying to give.
AI, generative AI. AI,
Can you start to see a trend? No, we're not going to get left behind. We really get AI. I know what it feels like to be disrupted. I have been disrupted by AI. So I wrote this book with a very nice first chapter about some smart innovators at Intercorp. And then the publisher, Penguin, asked me to record the audiobook. And I spent 3 days in a studio with no windows. And then I realized afterwards I didn't need to, because there was a startup that could have done it in 10 minutes.
Imagine turning your book into an audiobook in just 10 minutes. Now you can, using audiobook.ai, for 10 times less than paying a voice talent. All you have to do is upload your book to audiobook.ai, select a voice from over 30 natural-sounding
And this
voices,
voice is not an actress, it's a synthetic voice. And then I realized I didn't even need to write the book. I could have got an AI to write it for me. But I'm not worried that some of the way we worked is changing. You know, we don't miss this. But this was the reality not so long ago. I think the real opportunity to make us superhuman is to let the machine do the tasks that never really delighted us, so we can move up Maslow's pyramid towards self-actualization, to the tasks where our humanity, our creativity, our connectivity to other people becomes ever more important. Because the truth is, the tech is going to make things safer. It is going to help us get around the city without the traffic jams. The only thing in the way is our fear of change. Because sometimes it feels like tech is moving so fast, it's out of control.
This morning, this video going viral, showing a self-driving car being pulled over by police in San Francisco.
This is crazy.
The car was pulled over because it was driving at night without headlights on. At first, it looks like an ordinary traffic stop. An officer gets out of his car to speak to the driver, only to discover
ain't nobody in it.
And then the car speeds away from the officers, passing through an intersection.
So the car goes through the lights because it knows it's safer. And yet, that company, Cruise, took all its cars off the streets because there was a fear that they were less safe. I would rather be in an automated car in San Francisco than in an Uber with a human driver, because we have some real problems to solve. And you're going to hear later today about some of those real problems, but AI can design carbon-negative materials for us. It can help us create ways to fight climate change. Tech is an opportunity to solve the whole energy crisis.
Back in December, California scientists made a major breakthrough, a nuclear fusion reaction that produced more energy than was used to create it. Well, scientists have done it again, and this time their results produced even more energy.
So if science can give us nuclear fusion, which will be very nice, it solves an awful lot of problems. We're not there yet, but AI Material science is going to help us. And look, an exponential curve on a logarithmic scale. The falling cost of solar energy over the past 50 years. Stuff that was expensive and impossible is now everywhere, getting towards free. But it's not just the planet's health, it's our human health. Exponential curves mean we can understand what's happening in our bodies at a lower and lower cost. Another logarithmic scale, this one is the falling cost of sequencing DNA in a human. At the start of this century, it cost $100 million to sequence somebody. Now, a couple of $100 million. It changes how we understand that individual. You can sequence not just the patient, but the tumor of the patient to decide what personalized medication. AI and related tech is a way to prolong our lives. But, and here's where I have to accept some blame, too often in tech, we've been telling the wrong stories. So I edited a tech magazine called Wired, and I have to confess, we got excited about tech that wasn't very human. When they launched Google Glass, Sergey Brin and the team at Google had a fashion catwalk. Nobody stopped to think, is a human interaction with this strange item on your eyes what humans want? We got very excited about a company called Magic Leap that raised $4 billion for a new kind of augmented reality world. They put out these videos showing what it would look like. They should have invested in miniature flying elephants, to be honest, because this video, like many other things in tech, was vacuous. It was hype. It wasn't solving a real problem, and it wasn't what it claimed. What about the $700 juicing machine that raised $120 million in venture capital funding?
And what is that?
It's juice. Juice that will change your life.
Whoa.
Juice that will change your life. Let's solve some real problems. This juicing company had sensors, had Bluetooth, had internet connectivity. You had to buy very expensive sachets to make the juice. But it squeezed the sachets until some journalists from Bloomberg worked out you could squeeze the sachets in your hand and get just as good use without buying the $700 unit, and very soon after, the company goes bankrupt. So let's think about what we want to invest our time, our resources, our energy in. And let's not fall for the hype. How many of you are really visiting your virtual land this weekend?
Decentraland, a fully immersive platform powered by the blockchain. Buy land. Design your experience.
Real money went into building these virtual worlds, these NFT worlds, not solving a real problem. Zuckerberg, when he launched his metaverse, didn't really think about the human needs.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear.
He doesn't seem very human to me. Sometimes I think the best response is to satirize it, to make fun of it. When Zuck launched the metaverse and changed the name of his company to Meta, the Icelandic Tourism Authority saw an opportunity, and they released their own video promoting the Icelandverse.
It's completely immersive, with water that's wet. With humans to connect with. You're human, right? Isn't she funny?
This is the future I'd rather build. So when tech people are telling you about the virtual shopping malls,
You see the tomato sauce on your left? Go ahead and grab that and then place it in your cart.
the future. This is not what humans actually want. And we must remember
Great.
what we
Looks
want
like you need a good wine pairing. Take a look
can
to your
be
right.
challenged by people using these technologies in negative ways. Every tech has the opportunity to be used for good as well as evil. Recently, deepfakes have been used to persuade somebody from an architectural consulting company called Arup to give away $25 million because the voice, the videos, were not the board members that he thought they were.
The cost of doing business proved to be astronomical for a finance worker in Hong Kong who was duped into handing over millions of dollars after being tricked by deepfake technology.
Although I have a little hint, if you're trying to find the bad guys, look for people wearing hoodies. It's always how they look on the media reports. Sometimes they have numbers in front of their heads. Sometimes they have words. Sometimes they have COVID masks. I think the problem is somewhere along the way, a lot of a tech world, forgot what it was about being superhuman. But I'm happy to say today I have solved it because I have done what any self-respecting speaker does, which is get ChatGPT to write my presentation. So I went yesterday night asking ChatGPT about how we can activate our superhumanity in a world run by tech. And it's based on predicting the rest of the sentences based on the knowledge that it's accumulated. And I'll just give you like a flavor of the response. But it says we need to cultivate our emotional intelligence. We need to keep learning. We need to make sure we look after our own mental health and our physical well-being. We need to harness our creativity and also think about the ethics of what we're doing. We need to be critical thinkers and question things for ourselves, not just find the hype. We need to foster collaboration and community, which is why we're all here today. But I said, but you don't need us humans, do you, the AI? And it got a bit kind of self-justifying. AI, while powerful, lacks creativity and vision. Humans are essential for setting goals, envisioning the future, and driving innovation. Humans provide understanding of complex situations. We should see AI, it says, as a tool. We should work in collaboration with the AI. We should rethink what work is, but let the AI do the routine and repetitive tasks so we can focus on qualities like empathy, compassion, and creativity. I kind of had to say, should I be scared of you? It seems to think it was designed by a human. It seems to think it lacks autonomy and consciousness. I'm not going to buy that. There's a lot going on. So, where does this leave us humans? And these are not humans, these are obviously synthetic faces. Well, I think it's a moment where we need to think and reflect. I went into an ice cream shop this week. I wanted to buy an ice cream, but the only way you could do it was touching a screen. That's not a human experience. That's not what I want. That feels like going to work. I'll give you a few things I learned while writing the book. The way to become superhumans is empower everybody in the organization to be the head of innovation. I went to Finland, where there's a games company run by this guy called Supercell. It makes games that have been super successful. The founder of that company, he says, I want to be the least powerful chief executive in the world. I just want to hire good people, let them work out how to build the best product. Invest in the talent. The second thing you can do is design ways for unexpected conversations to happen, as will happen all day through Fest. These two are the people who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine this year for designing the RNA vaccine. But they didn't know each other. They met while standing in line to use the photocopier at the University of Pennsylvania. They got into a conversation. So it's even how you design your building to encourage conversation. This is the biggest biomedical research center in Europe, in London, designed to solve cancer. And they've designed it with no walls on the inside because they know it's not going to be a scientist in a lab shouting eureka. It's going to be the genomics expert talking to the bioinformatics expert, talking to the data scientist, collaborating. Another thing I learned is you need diversity of thinking as well as gender, ethnic. At Google X, where they came up with a self-driving car, of Waymo, they're obsessed with putting people on the team who think in different ways. They can ask different questions. If you don't go to crypto conferences because you don't think it's irrelevant, go to a crypto conference and see how that shapes how you're thinking. You won't do it all in Intercorp. Build an ecosystem with teams outside Intercorp. I went to China to meet this man who runs, I guess, the Apple of China, Xiaomi, a company that makes super high-quality smartphones, but very low margins because it's so competitive. Instead, they invest in hundreds of startups that make accessories, put their logo on the accessory, the best-selling air purifier in China, the best-selling battery pack in China. It gives the customer a new reason to come into the store every week. But the risk is with the startup. The startup has to know what the customers want on the streets of Shenzhen today, not last week. It's brilliant. It worked. It's called the ecosystem. We put him on the front of Wired saying it's time to copy China. And I'll give you one more example. The tech is there. You have to play with it. Otherwise, your competitors will play. I went to the wine country in San Francisco, where in this converted barn, a bunch of Michelin-starred chefs were making recipes and filming them, paid for by this guy who runs one of the world's biggest saucepan companies. He became a billionaire, Stanley Cheng. This is his company. But he's got a company inside their corporation that makes a smart saucepan that has a temperature sensor embedded in the metal that sits on a conductive heater that connects via Bluetooth to an app which has the video of the chefs cooking, and it controls the temperature with you as you cook. It's a crazy idea for a saucepan company, but I said to Stanley Cheng, how big is this going to be for your saucepan company? He said, it's either going to be $0 or $1 billion. But if we don't play, we'll be zero. So nobody reads books. 5 words beginning with P that come out of my book. Empower the people. Come up with processes that let the new ideas come out. Protect the people doing things in a new way. Prepare for whatever scenario tech can enable, but play with that tech. But I leave you with the only problem in everything I've just been saying. We're humans. We're scared. We're irrational. You will be in that so safe autonomous car soon, and this is how you might react.
I'm scared. Oh, there's cars coming. Oh, there's cars. Ah! Bill, just put me back for me controlling.
And I think there's a little of all of us in this reaction to a new technology.
Oh, where's it going?
We do get scared.
Damn, Bill. Oh,
But it's just another way of getting around the town. So I'm going to leave you, but I can't leave you without thanking the AI, because the AI is more powerful than I am. I said to the AI, thanks for all your help. I guess keynote speakers are the next to be replaced. And I got its answer that I fed to a synthetic voice just to see what it said.
As an AI language model, I can provide information and assistance to help with various tasks, but I cannot replace the experience and expertise of a human keynote speaker.
Oh, thank you.
Keynote speakers bring unique perspectives and insights to their presentations, and their ability to connect with their audience on a personal level is an important part of the speaking experience.
I feel I've connected with you on a personal level.
While technology can augment and enhance the work of keynote speakers, it cannot fully replicate the human connection that is so vital to effective communication.
Still in the game. Gracias.
Lots of noise. People are inspired or scared.
They're trying to do that SpaceX cheer.
Yes, apparently. Well, thank you, David, so much for that inspiring talk. I think you've given us a great overall, experience and, overhaul of what is happening in the world today with technology, specifically with AI. So I want to start the Q&A section. We're going to keep it to 10 minutes. And we have some questions from the audience, which are very interesting. So we're going to get started with the first one. And I think one of the things you mentioned is true. The first thing that comes to mind when you see all of this happening is fear. So with technology advancing so quickly, how can we help people manage the fear of being left behind and making this transition easier for everyone?
Humans are storytelling machines. And we're not great at telling a positive story about how a technology like AI can enhance our lives, can make us more satisfied in our work, can solve real problems with the planet, with our bodies. And the problem is we share negative stories more easily. The media loves, if it bleeds, it leads. A violence story is powerful. And the story about AI has largely in the main media been, it's going to eradicate humanity. It's going to stop us being who we are. And I think that's a fake story, provided we establish an ethical framework, we ensure there's transparency in the algorithm, we monitor ownership of these language models, so it's not a small number of monopoly companies using the AI for their own purposes. Because it's true, the AI can stop you getting a job in an unfair way. The AI can send the wrong person to jail. It can have biases. If we can use it to do things in our collective assumption that are ethical things, then it's going to boost productivity, it's going to boost the GDP that Fernando showed, getting better. It can help eradicate poverty. We just got to make sure there's fair access. And also that the people whose work is no longer competitive are being trained for the tasks of tomorrow.
Amazing. Super interesting, David. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask a question that we really liked by the audience now. I'm really inspired by this, about this, but it seems very far away from what I do on my day-to-day job. How would you advise me to get started on this AI journey?
I think as a human, we are many things. We are our romantic person, our creative person, our productive work person, and they all converge. And since the pandemic, we've been working in different ways, not always going into a physical building, but being no less productive. And I think what you learn whilst playing games in the evening can feed in to how you understand your role in the organization. You should be playing with these tools, exploring them, and then you will find ways to adapt what they allow you to do. I have a bunch of friends who are using AI to help write their marketing decks, to help them deal with communications at scale. That's still their voice, but they're talking to a lot more people. It's a tool to enhance productivity. It doesn't mean AI is irrelevant to them. It doesn't mean everything the AI does has to be used. But I think if we don't play, if we put up a wall saying, I'm scared, I'm not gonna go there, we'll be a lot less efficient.
Yep.
You don't have to have a smartphone, but to ignore it, you kind of miss out on certain things.
Yeah. I agree. I think maybe what you're saying is like, let's start on the individual productivity journey, that you'll see the power of what this brings to you, and then get started on the next step.
And just observe, if you have children, how they're using these tools. Observe gamers, because it's often the gamers who work out what we'll be doing in our day job 5 or 6 years later. You know, virtual currencies and virtual worlds.
Amazing. One of the questions that we also got from the audience was, what is your vision for the future of AI? Because we've seen a lot of like, you know, what is out there, what you've seen also. You have a great experience traveling and seeing all these experiences. But what is your personal view about the future of AI, and how do you see it evolving to impact our society?
Pretty soon, I don't think we'll talk about it as AI. It will just be embedded intelligence. When I was over there, I wasn't presenting using keynote software, using electricity, using a projection system and an audio system. I was just telling a story. And I think AI, a bit like electricity, is just going to be a tool that becomes embedded in our daily lives, our processes. At some stage, the autonomous car will be on the streets of Lima, because they're getting more reliable.
That could be very scary in the traffic of Lima.
No more scary than me driving here this morning, going in between lanes. Somehow
True.
It works. But you're not going to think about it as the autonomous car. You're just going to think about it as the way to get to the convention center. And when something goes wrong on the stage, people talk about technology. Most of the time, it just works. It's not technology. It's empowerment.
Amazing. David, I think we have time for one more question.
You have good audience questions. These are superhumans.
These are interesting, profound questions. How can we improve public understanding of AI and its potential benefits and fears?
Oh, this is a great Intercorp question. Because one thing that I've noticed Intercorp is great at is playing with the technology to try and find a really meaningful use case. And you might do it inside La Victoria Lab, but then you work with the different teams inside Intercorp to say, this can boost your part of the business. So you're very good at talking to customers and understanding what problems they have and how you can help at scale solve those problems. My guess is bring in a lot of customers from different parts of the conglomerate and get them to start to understand how they can work with these tools to co-create, to save effort. If they're teaching their children to give themselves an infinite textbook which has multimedia experiences, if they're trying to maintain their health, to monitor the different signals that the body's giving with data. And then with your teams, and it's cognitive diversity, it's people who don't all think in the same way, understanding what's a viable business that's also doing something useful. Because I think one of the great unusual flags that Intercorp waves is we're here to do something useful. We're here to make Peru the best place to bring up a family in the region. There's a lot of problems that are real problems that need your help solving.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for saying that. I think one of the things that we really love about AI right now is that at La Victoria Lab, we really see the potential of it being a tool for inclusion And that's something we really strive for at Peru. So, unfortunately, David, we are out of time. Any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Keep doing what you're doing. Gracias.
Amazing. Let's give a round of applause to David. Thank you so much, David.